Dear friend, let's discover more of who we are together. Love, Haley and Amanda.
Is there something in your life that leaves you awestruck?
Is there space that you give yourself in your everyday life to be really touched by beauty?
Today's episode is about the importance of making space for beauty in our lives.
Because it's important. Did you know
It
that?
is. You know, it's really important to be able to feel like outside of yourself for a moment, and that there's something beautiful outside of yourself.
Yes, I think that whenever we get into the monotony of life and we're drudging through the everyday things, it's really easy to get tunnel vision and to think like, blah, everything's just blah.
Yeah, and you move through it and it's almost like you've lost your vision for the world and the beauty that's in the world, because you're seeing the same stuff all the time. We're not really paying attention,
And we're busy.
I know.
So busy. But there is real importance for beauty in our lives. And something from The Simpler Way that I was reading earlier. Can you imagine that I was reading the book A Simpler Way? Have we ever even mentioned it on this podcast?
I don't even know what book you're talking about.
I've never even heard of it until today.
Get it.
So in the book, it was saying how behind every habit is a belief, right?
Whoa,
so
stop. Say it again.
Behind every habit is a belief. So you're only doing that habit because there's a strong belief behind it.
That it's going to make you better or
it's a means to survival, or like something that there's a very specific purpose in why you would even be doing that habit. Like it's self-preservation, or it's...
Okay, I'm hearing you.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so whenever we're like, oh, see beauty in the world, like what this episode is about.
Yeah,
like,
making a new habit for beauty.
Oh yeah, just go make sure you're, really recognizing the beauty around you. Well, you first would have to have a strong belief about its importance, right? And how important beauty is in our lives and how it really affects us. And
we already have that belief because we've seen it affect us positively every time.
Right, and it can be grand things, right? It can be like nature, big things in nature. It could be like you're on a hike and you get to the waterfall and it's just like, whoa, it totally overwhelms you.
Watching the sunset or the sunrise.
Right, or it could be the smallest things in your life that you choose to notice, right? Something that David Whyte says that we're going to get into one of his poems, but he says that beauty is about the present. It's the harvest of the presence. So you have to really, like we've said in other episodes, be present to the small things around you and let yourself notice them.
Yeah, because I really think that the world, it sometimes feels like it's working against us, but I think there's a lot working for us, and there's a lot of things in the world that are kind of like, yoo-hoo, like we're beautiful, we're here to, and it's stuff we just don't notice.
I think that a poet who really is good at seeing the beauty in small things is Mary Oliver.
Totally agree.
She's a poet that we have brought up several times on this podcast as well, but she just like her whole shtick and her poetry is that she's noticing the small things.
Attention.
Very present in the moment to see the small things. And there's just one poem that I thought I would read of hers. It says, "What gorgeous thing." That's the title of it. "I do not know what gorgeous thing the bluebird keeps saying, his voice easing out of his throat, beak, body, into the pink air of the early morning. I like it, whatever it is. Sometimes it seems the only thing in the world that is without dark thoughts.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes it seems the only thing in the world that is without questions that can't and probably never will be answered. The only thing that is entirely content with the pink than clear white morning, and gratefully says so.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's a bird song in the morning.
Yeah, this is her literally writing a poem about a bluebird's song.
And she let it stop her in her tracks and take her outside of herself and take some goodness from its purity and beauty.
And just that
Oh,
that the beauty of its simple song is maybe the only thing in the world that isn't like a dark thought, or it's something that's honoring
untainted.
the morning. And I have to say that what we're talking about is like a practice that I really do try. I know no one, like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. No one's perfect, but it is something that I really do try. There's a lot of days I'm bad at it, but I really try to notice small things in the quiet time that I do have alone, in those small moments. And when I do that, I feel it's so strange, because it's such a simple act to really let yourself be engulfed by something, even if it's small, like the beauty of it and the intricacy of it, even if it's a small insect or something. And then it's something that, like we're saying, takes you outside of yourself.
This quote from David Whyte says, "Beauty is an achieved state of both deep attention and self-forgetting."
Yes.
Whew.
Deep attention and self-forgetting. I feel like that's something Mary Oliver was really good at.
Totally. And like, I'm thinking even about when you're saying this, yesterday because we've had an extremely busy week. We've both been a little bit overwhelmed, just trying to get stuff done, work. And we were driving home, and it was after a bunch of errands, and we were hopping out of our car, and I was dropping her off, and then I needed to hop back in, and you turned around and you said, "Oh my God, look at the sunset." And it was that bright pink. And we both stopped, turned around, took a deep breath, and we let ourselves adore it.
Yeah.
And it gave me a burst.
Yeah, me too. Totally. I've said this before in another episode, but whenever we were like deep in hardcore quarantine, like when we couldn't leave you and I weren't even seeing each other yet. We were so isolated. I would go on 2 walks every day, one in the morning and one in the evening with my dog. And I've said this in other episodes, it's like the same streets I walked over and over, because I always take my dog on a walk. It was the same walk I've always done. But because I had nothing pulling my attention,
Right, you could notice.
I noticed all this dumb little stuff that's not dumb. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it gave me a lot. I don't know, like those walks were really
rejuvenating.
Yeah, and like filling, and I filled up my cup. And
I bet there's even like, because we keep referring to nature because nature is something so beautiful to us and recharges us. But like, I'm thinking about cooking a meal. Like looking at, I know when I make this certain gazpacho that I make, there's something when I pour all those fresh vegetables out and I see them all fresh on the table, that I'm like, oh my God, these colors, the fact that this is pure nourishment, that this came from the earth, that's 5 seconds.
And like when we build a fire pit.
Oh.
And we stare at the
fire pits.
The glistening cinders.
Come on now.
Woo! It's like church when you do that.
Seriously, it's a religious act.
Well, and David Whyte has a poem that it's called "Everything is Waiting for You." Haley thought about it whenever we were preparing for the episode. And it's kind of like where Mary Oliver's talking about how all these little things in nature, if you really stop and pay attention to them, they can be that beauty that really shakes you up and kind of makes you get out of yourself. But in this one, he's talking about
even everyday things in your home, or
he says, "You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you, and the tiny speaker in the phone and your dream ladder is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness. and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you.
I have goosebumps.
I know, and it's such a beautiful thought that all of these things around us are waiting. Yeah, they're waiting to be noticed. They're waiting to for us to admire the beauty in them. And it's like when we do that, it's this symbiotic relationship, right? Like it does something for us too, to slow down in moments and really appreciate small beauties in the world. And I know, like, especially like post vaccinated pandemic and life, it just feels like you're almost busier and busier. Do you feel that way?
Yes.
Like even than before.
I don't know if it's because we got a moment of rest and we know what it's like, or because we're trying to make up for all the lost time.
I think it's a bit of both. I do. I think
that we've been trying to be still, and then it's like the gates opened and we're all just like, wah!
Yes.
Except we really can't do that all the way yet, which is a little frustrating. Side note.
So I think like going really fast again,
we're starting to
burn out. Yeah. And it's harder to make time for these moments of, finding beauty. But I think it's so important to not just look for beauty, but to really allow yourself to get lost in it. Like, and if you're like, Amanda, I can't go on a hike, I'm too busy. No.
I think it's more of a state of mind, actually. Yeah, it's not even I do think we should build these moments into our schedule. But even on your busiest of days, I think if your state of mind is intentional and alert, then you'll notice things even in your busiest days, you know? We've been spending a lot of time with our friend Hannah's baby, and he's just starting to smile.
Yeah.
And every time his little baby face cracks a smile for God knows why, I feel like it's just like a gift. Because it's probably, I don't even know why he's smiling. Maybe he has gas, they say. But I'm taking them as little gifts, and I think that's how David Whyte and Mary Oliver and kind of what we're trying to say, like, if we're looking for these little gifts and we take little moments like that of beauty, they really are like gifts to us that we can carry around to be better, more nourished people out in the world.
I feel like they're little deposits in our bank accounts, like our mental health bank accounts. Like they just help so much when we turn towards that beauty. Like when we allow ourselves to lean in, it's like a deposit, and it's like, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we actually talked about this a little bit on the episode about belonging to yourself, because there are times when you can move through the world, and I feel this way, where I feel kind of alone, or that I'm just like going about things on my own, and that I'm making everything happen for myself and blah, blah, blah. But I think those deposits, like, they're trying to happen to us, but it's only if we
acknowledge
that alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. And we can move through the world feeling like alone and depleted, or we can move through the exact same world and the exact same schedule
on the exact same streets you always walk on,
feeling familiar. And it just has to do with our alertness and us making time for that.
I know. So what's something in your everyday life that is like a moment recently of beauty where you let yourself really be awestruck and kind of lose yourself in that moment? And I'm putting you on the spot because I'm going to think about mine too.
Well, and I'm thinking, I know the things that do that to me, but in an everyday life, because mine is 100% being outdoors.
Yeah. And that can be part of it. Yeah. But say a specific moment recently, like this week, where you had that.
I will say that those baby smiles are one. I went for a walk through the Arboretum for the first time this fall. It's fall now. And that really set me down for a minute.
What's something specific on that experience at the Arboretum that like made you totally lose yourself in a moment?
There was a part in it's called the Woman's Garden, and there's a pond, but it's like an infinity kind of fountain, and the lake is behind that, and the lake is actually really, really far, but because of the infinity, the two bodies of water looked like they were becoming one, and it was kind of like this endless sea almost, and we stopped and stood there for like a solid like 5-6 minutes.
Wow.
So that was, I guess if I'm trying to be really, really specific, that was one this week that really helped me.
Yeah. And it just, how did it make you feel?
Like you're saying, like outside of myself, like the world was on my side.
Yeah.
Also that soul of the world, you know, I think that's actually at the core of these nourishing feelings that beauty gives, is that you're actually connected to everything else, because in the exact same moment of that self-forgetting, you're also realizing that this beautiful thing outside of you, it's making you feel a certain way because there's something inside of us that is connected to that.
Yeah.
And then that's a whole nother beautiful feeling of feeling connected to something bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that feeling specifically, like, okay, we're all connected.
Yeah.
There's something working in my favor. There are beautiful, pure things in the world.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think mine's a really small moment.
I like
but
it.
it made me like smile hard and kind of giggle.
Good.
Yeah, because
Love giggles.
I get up really early and go to the flower market a lot by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
I thought maybe, I almost said something about flowers.
Yeah.
Seeing you play with them.
Yeah, well, at the market, when you walk through to get to the front door, all of these plants are like these big plants are in the entrance, you know, like they're for sale. But they're the big plants. And one of them had this like crazy arm that was outstretched, and I got caught in it, like my hair and stuff. But like, it was this moment where it wasn't like I was laughing because I was caught in it. It was like the plant was a person or something. It was like not an inanimate object, and it was like just a moment where I took in the beauty of that plant and
its uniqueness.
Yes, and that it's trying to catch me or something and got my hair, and it was just like I just smiled really big, and it was like, you know, a moment by yourself, and it's kind of like what you're saying, that feeling like stuff's on your side. Mm-hmm. Like you know, I could have just walked past that plant and not.
You could have been really frustrated by it too.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just I think that even something that small is special and important, and it was like a little baby bright dot on my day.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think there's a million of them like waiting for us.
Everything is waiting for you.
Yeah, it is, and I wanted to talk about this today. I know you and we'd said like the importance of adoration and beauty, and I just think I see so many people, and I'm sure I look like these people too a lot of the time. We're just zooming. Mm-hmm. We're zooming around, and like it's really nice to acknowledge some of the beauty around us. And so it takes that time to maybe slow down for a moment, to take a breath, to be present with what is interacting with you or what's around you, and allowing yourself to see the beauty in it and take that with you, because when you carry those little moments of beauty, it's making your life beautiful and it's making your life special and sweet, and then those feelings are filling you up, and you project those feelings onto other people instead of more negative feelings. And so allow yourself to be open to those little deposits so that you can then deposit something good into someone else, is kind of how I view it. Do you think that's
100%? Yeah. Well, and I love, like, every time you say adoration or awestruck particularly, it, like, I have a sense of, like, you know, like looking up, or like you're in awe because there's something bigger than you. And I think that's a really important feeling to carry around with us through our lives. Like, there's something really terrifying to me about thinking that there's nothing more beautiful or bigger than me out in the world, you know? And I don't mean like even God, really. I'm just saying something that can make me feel that way, you know?
Yeah.
And if that doesn't exist for you or whoever, I think it's pretty necessary to go on that search and find it right now.
Yeah, and remember that if you want something to be a habit, you have to have a strong belief that that habit would be something useful to you. You have a strong belief behind the habit. So,
and if you have habits right now that if you really think about it, they don't have a belief attached to them, well, then maybe they shouldn't be habits.
Yeah, or maybe that belief has changed and that
Should
habit
adjust
can
it.
change.
Yeah.
So that's a little bloop this week.
I love it.
Send you out there in the world to feel like you can look at the beauty around you and enjoy the small things in life.
Yes, make space for it. You've been listening to the Dear Friend podcast. It is produced by us, Haley and Amanda.
And the music that you hear in the intro and the outro is by our band Sister. You can find all information on the band at the website sistertheband.com.
And if you want any more information about our podcast, you should follow along on Instagram at dearfriend.podcast and subscribe to us on
YouTube and like this, like comments and reviews. We love it. Thanks for listening with us. Have a great week.